Yo guys, X1 here and I'm back with another vlog. This week we're talking about how you can improve when you're playing against a good player or like someone who's on a level above you and they're giving you advice, but how can you best benefit from that? How you can make the most use of your time. And a quick disclaimer before we start, there's some bits in this video that convey my attitude about certain the way people are accepting advice or the way people perceive their own skill, and it's like might sound like I'm looking down on some of the low level players or anything like that, but that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just like the reality is you have to accept some hard truths if you want to get good at melee, and sometimes the hard truth is just that you suck. Like I'm not naming any names or anything like that, but it's like if you feel like I'm being mean towards level players, it's because like the things I'm saying need to be accepted if you actually want to just get better at melee. So yeah, I'll get on with the vlog now, eh? First thing I'm just gonna get this out of the way, you need to do is you need to have your tech skill down. I don't just mean you can do a wave dash or you can do a ledge dash or whatever. I mean you have to be able to do it every time. You have to be able to do it on command when you need it. And like to be honest, calling this the first step is kind of like it's before that really. It's like the 0th step. You know, like you're never gonna be good at chess if you don't know how the knights move, or like how you can do a castle or whatever. Like it's just like a prerequisite for being good at the game. Okay, so now assuming you've got your tech skill and everything down, the next thing you need to do is ask yourself the question, what am I trying to achieve when I play this game? So say you're sitting down next to Professor Pro, or maybe it's next to me or whoever, Jamie, How, RT3, all these people. When you sit down to them, like, think, what is your goal? Okay. The reason I'm bringing this up is there's a lot of people I'm playing or coaching them, trying to give them advice, and then like it's been like 4 stock, 3 stock, and then like maybe they'll take 2 stocks off me, and they're like, oh yeah, I only got 2 stocked, and it's just like, yeah, I understand why you want to feel, why like you want to take that and you want to feel better about that, because like you get a bit more confidence from that. You feel like you've done quite well, but like why is that your goal? You know, aren't you here to improve? Like what matters does the score mean? You know, and the thing about trying to build confidence on the fact that you're like only got 2 stocks or whatever is like, yeah, you might feel good about that, but like 2 games later or 3 games later, they're probably just gonna 4-stock you again. It's just like your confidence isn't going to sustain, you know, it's just going to get knocked down again, and it seems kind of redundant. So another side to this is that the reduced focus on winning or on the score of the game will probably like mean you're just going to be not as stressed out when you're playing the game. You're like, if you're not worried about the score, if you're not looking at the score thinking that it matters, then like your ego is not under attack by seeing yourself getting 4 stocks over and over again, because you don't care. That's not what you're playing for. Like, and you'll be generally in a better mindset to improve. You know, more cognitive ease, generally just feeling better and like more positive. So another side to this not caring about the score business is that you're gonna be just because you're less stressed out. Like you have more like mental capacity to actually focus on things that matter in the game. So for example, if you're the person you're playing against gives you a piece of advice, like what you can do is you can just like focus 100% on that bit of advice. So if I say to you like stop taking in place, just go into the game, just think like what is my goal for this game, right? And remember your goal is definitely not to take 2 stocks or take 3 stocks, whatever. That's just bullshit. What you're gonna do is you're gonna decide. You're gonna say to yourself, my goal with this game is to implement what this player just told me. So if they're saying don't take in place so much, just go into the game, forget about everything else, don't worry about anything else, don't worry about the fact you're getting bodied. Just remember, don't take in place, and like every time you get grabbed or you see they're going for a tech situation, like that should be at the forefront of your mind. And like by doing this, like it's the way you can start breaking a habit. And this all links back into what I was saying last week about how you need to be able to change your habits on the fly and adapt the way that you play. And it's like, if you just forget about literally everything else for now, because that doesn't even matter, the score in this frame doesn't matter, like accept that you might get 4-stocked, even worse, and just be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I break this one habit straight away. And like getting that straight away and out of done with, you know, over and done with, is going to be super important. So if you can approach melee in this way where you're just looking at the one thing you want to focus on, like there's so many good sides to this. Firstly, when you walk away from the setup and you realize that you've like actually learned something that's going to stick with you in melee forever, and like you're never going to have to learn that again, and now you are forever 1 step higher than you were before, like you'll find that satisfying. And that's not something you're going to have doubt about. That's something you will know. Like you will know, I am better now than I was before, and like that's how you can get real confidence in melee. On the flip side to this is if you don't do this, if you just go in playing blindly without really thinking about it, without really having a goal, or just like because you're wanting to win or whatever, like what's probably going to be happening is you're going to be making the same mistakes you've been making for months. Prof's going to be exposing you for them. Like you're going to get frustrated with the way that you're playing because you're going to feel like you're playing bad. Like you probably are playing bad, and it's like all this frustration is entirely counterproductive. Whereas like if you just focus on doing your one thing, like you'll feel so happy afterwards when you realize that you've learned something, and you will realize that like even though melee is ridiculously hard, like each of the steps you have to take in order to get good, like they're very manageable, and like once you realize that, you will fall in love with learning melee. Another side to this that I want to cover is how you can make it easier for the higher level or the top player to give you advice. And first thing straight out of the gate is just ask. Okay, just ask them for tips. Because if you're sitting there playing them for half an hour, like they might not just volunteer some information. But like if you just say to them, "Oh, I'm trying to improve. Do you have some advice for me on what I can do to improve?" Or if you just say to them, "Oh, what could I have done in this situation here?" Or what, like, how do I stop getting destroyed by this or whatever? Like they will give you the advice, but it's like you have to ask first. So don't be afraid to do that. So if you're sat down with a top player, you need to. I'll be honest here. You need to not disagree with them. You need to not argue with them. First of all, because it makes a bad space for you to learn in because you're disagreeing with each other. That's not good. And second of all, it's because like they're telling you good shit, right? They're telling you these advice. They're giving you this advice for a reason. Like if you're ignoring that, then you're just being an idiot, right? So like a few examples of the things I'm running into when I'm trying to train people is if I suggest that they start using a certain option, and then they start telling me situations where that option is bad, and it's like, yeah, that's like part of the mix-up of the game. Like the game is about mix-ups. That's how it goes. Like I'm not suggesting an option because it's like when you start using this, you become magically better, and it's like, oh, now I'm doing the right thing, because there is no right thing, right? Like you need to just when they're suggesting you use an option, it's probably because you're just relying on one thing and like abusing that, and probably getting punished by any good player for using that over and over again. And you need to be mixing it up and using a variety of options. I'm not saying that top players are always right about everything, but it's just like in the context of melee, like they probably do know what they're talking about if they're a top player. Like if you decided to sit down and ask them for advice, then it's like you should fucking listen to their advice, right? You should, if you decided it's someone who's worth listening to, and then you sit down with them and they give you advice and you disagree with them, or you say something contradictory, like really think about this situation, right? You basically just decided you were going to sit down and try and get advice, and then decided to throw it all out the window because you didn't want to accept that you were wrong, or whatever reason it is. But it's just like, just try and really listen and pay attention, and don't argue and disagree, because it just makes it so much harder for the top person to try and teach you. Like we're all friends in the UK community, definitely, but it's just like if I'm playing with someone who's one of my mates and I'm trying to give them advice, and then I tell them something and then they just disagree, they just say something back to me, and I'm just like, what they said is just not true. But I don't want to just be like, no, you're wrong, you know? Like that's how I make the situation hella awkward, and means like makes it harder for everyone to learn, to be honest. Like, and it's just like, accept that the things you might know, you think you might have known, might be wrong. Accept that you don't know everything about melee, and that you're just here to learn, and like let this person teach you, you know? Just let them help you, because that's what they want, you know? The other thing is, when someone's giving you advice, like the reason they're giving you that is because they want to help you. Like it's not a personal attack, and you just try and accept the tips that you're getting, like as well as you can, because it's like if you get upset, or if you like feel like you need to defend yourself because you're being attacked, it's like just sort that shit out, right? Because that's not what it's all about. Like I'm here to teach you. I don't care how good or bad you are right now. Like I just want to try and help you get better, okay? So if you're like getting all emo after I tell you your mistakes, it's like, come on, like we're here to learn. Like if you're getting emo, or if you're getting upset, or if you're like feel like you're shit, it's like just fucking forget about all that. Remember the one thing, okay? Remember you're here to learn. Like that's your only goal, is to learn, and it's like just focus on that instead of going, oh yeah, I'm still taking in place. It's so bad. Just like I was talking about, just think about that one thing. Just think about that one thing, and then like at the end of it, you'll feel great. So moving on to the third thing you can do to try and help top players help you, and that is do not John. No Johns at all, okay? If I'm coaching you and I tell you about a mistake you made, like I don't really care why you did it. I don't care your reasoning for doing it, and it's like neither should you. Like You're here to learn. Like, trying to justify what you've done in the past is just like you're looking backwards, right? You're not looking forwards. Even if you feel like you made the right play and like you just got punished, like maybe it was bad luck or something, like even though that's irritating to you, it's like why focus on it, right? Like what is there to actually gain? Like, and the other side to this is like if you're getting like all hung up on your mistakes, or if you're Johning, it's kind of conveying to the person who's teaching you like that you have a certain unwillingness to learn, like, and it's like obviously people are gonna try and give you the benefit of the doubt or whatever, but it's like if you're constantly Johning, it just makes it look like you don't want to learn, right? And it's just like they'll probably still give you a few tips, but it's just like they're not gonna be as involved or as helpful as they would be if like you really showed that you were learning and you were looking forwards to the future. Okay, so just dwell for a moment, like how can you create a constructive learning space with the person who's training you, and obviously disagreeing and arguing is only going to cause tension, like we talked about. So just obviously you don't have to like brown nose these top players or lick their boots or whatever, but it's just like if you make it as little of a chore for them as possible, then it's going to be easy for them to do, and they're going to be much more inclined to do it, and like give you more high quality advice rather than just like easy things they can say, you know. Remember, like the top players have got their own shit to think about. Like, example, if I've got finals coming up, say like I'm at a regional or something, I've gone to an FD tournament or whatever. It's like if I've got finals coming up, I'm thinking about how to play against Frenzy. Like that's something I want to prepare for. I want to practice that matchup. I want to think about my mindset, get myself in the right place mentally for those finals. It's like if you ask me for tips, and it's like, yeah, cool, yeah, I'll sit down with you, we'll play. But it's like if we're 5 minutes in and you're disagreeing with me, or you're trying to John, or you're saying, oh, I only did that because of this, oh, I only did that because of this, it's just like, it's not a constructive use of my time. And like, frankly, it's not a constructive use of your time either. So it's like, why are we even here, you know? It's like, what's the, like, you know? Top players always have shit to do, right? And it's like, if you're showing to them that once they're training you, like, you're not actually learning anything, like, you're basically showing them that it's not worth them training you. And it's like obviously it's a shame, and a lot of people will still sit there and still try and give you advice, but it's like, people won't just coach you endlessly if you show that you're not learning. If you're making the same mistakes over and over and over again, it becomes very hard for your opponent to like continue to really engage with you in the game, especially if your opponent is a higher level than you. For example, like a lot of foxes have this very critical mistake where they basically just do nairs in neutral, just pretty much randomly. And it's like when I play Captain Falcon, I will literally just be dash dancing the whole time anyway. And it's like if I'm just dash dancing and then it's like, oh, he missed the nair, I'll grab him. Like, this is not actually requiring me to use my brain. Like, I'm literally able to just use a strategy where it's like dash left, dash back in, grab, punish. And it's like, if I'm saying to you, you can't just whiff nairs like that, and then I'm pointing out every time it happens, and I'm pointing out how much I punish you for it, and it's like 3 games, 4 games later, you're still doing it. It's like, you know, like, you're only going to make me autopilot, right? Because we're barely even interacting in the game. Like, for all I know, I could be playing against a CPU because I'm literally just abusing a one-dimensional strategy where I'm like, dash away, dash back, grab. It's like, that's so ridiculous, and it's so hard for me to like constantly pay attention and like try and pick up on your other habits if I'm incentivized to just do one stupid strategy that's good enough to beat you, you know? It's like, I'm not going to notice the other things you're doing because there's one huge glaring flaw you're making already that's enough for me to destroy you. Like, you know, it's just like, I'm not trying to fire shots here. It's just like, when I say it's important for you to like change your habits and implement the advice you're given straight away, like, this is what I mean. It's really, really important. Not just because you need to be able to do that quickly anyway. Not just because you need to be able to do that to be good at Melee. But also, you're just making it so hard for someone to teach you because they're probably just going to be abusing this one thing you've got. And like, the other side to this is, it's like, you've got to just show someone you're learning, you know? Like, someone's going to be... People don't get fed up if they force lock you 10 times in a row, right? Like, if I force lock you 10 times in a row, but like, I have to really use my brain and actually think about the decisions you're making and think about the decisions I'm going to make, like, that's fine. I don't care that it's a force lock each time. Like, I'm not like bored of it or tired of it or anything. I don't think any top players are. But it's like, if I beat you and it's like I don't even really have to pay attention or like even think at all, it's just like, so hard for me to give you actual advice. It's so hard for anyone who's trying to coach you to give you advice, because like you haven't fixed the huge fatal flaw that they pointed out. And it's like, this is why I'm focusing on this. Not to be mean, but it's just like, you really have to sort this stuff out. As soon as you get advice, just focus 100%, like we were talking about earlier. Just focus on that one thing you need to improve, and the person who's coaching you will just respond a lot better to you if they can see that you're actually learning. Even if they're bodying you, they don't care about that. Like, if they can see you're actually learning, or they're actually picking it up and they're actually changing the way that you play, they'll be so much more happy to teach you, and like, you will actually just be in a better place to learn, which is what's really important here, you know. To sum up, melee is hard, but melee is hard because there's a lot that you need to learn. And what I think you'll find if you adopt this mindset and this mentality towards learning, and if you have the same focus on improving on the little things that you're told about, as soon as you're told about them, what you'll find is that even though melee is a very, very tall mountain to climb, where you're at right now, you're just taking steps up the base, and these steps are quite simple. And you will honestly find, like, if you take this mentality and you take this approach, that like, you'll be amazed at yourself how quickly you can pick up things and how quickly you can change your game when you focus on it. And you will realize basically how easy it is. Like, obviously melee isn't easy, but like, learning to get good at melee, especially from the level where we're at in the UK right now, is definitely achievable. So yeah, the most important thing to remember is you're aiming to improve. Don't worry about what's gone by. Don't worry about explaining the mistakes you've made. Just look forwards and try and implement what you've been taught, and you'll find it remarkably easy to improve, and it will help the person who's teaching you help you more.
I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. This has been X1. See you in the next vlog.